Get out of my house and take your lies with you. That is how I greeted my husband when I recognized the perfume on his coat. My best friend's perfume, the kind that smells like oranges and money. He stammered, said I was overreacting, and asked if I wanted the truth. I said, I want it all, now, or I call Olivia. By sunrise, the truth had a name, a second phone, and a storage unit. You want the ending? He ended up in a hospital with his jaw wired shut and his double life hanging out like a torn pocket. But that is not mercy. That is gravity. Me, female, 38 years old. Husband, male, 40 years old. We met as broke juniors in a public university where campus coffee smelled like burnt sugar and the brightest building was the library. He was handsome in that old Hollywood way, dark hair, a laugh that made girls turn around. I was the quiet one who lived in the editing bay. He asked me to tutor him in statistics, and I ended up rewriting his cover letters. We moved to Seattle, married, under a string of backyard lights, 2 daughters down the line, Jessa and Bia, life like a smoothie. Sweet, whirl, done. I went into product design, sneakers, and the people who run in them. He went into logistics, then consulting. He called it herding cats with clipboards. The industry loved me fast. Companies poached, stock options bloomed like spring. His lane was harsher. Layoffs, reorgs, layoffs again. After our second daughter, he got cut. We said we would take turns. He would be the stay-at-home father for a season while he freelanced. We made spreadsheets, clipped coupons, splurged on Saturday donuts with pink frosting. He became the king of school pickups. Coffee in a thermos, keys on a carabiner, the smell of Cheerios in the minivan. I wore blazers with sharp shoulders and scuffed sneakers. We were a team. Our closest couple friends were Nate and Olivia from college. Olivia soared in biotech sales, the kind of person who texts on speakerphone and closes deals at the airport gate. Nate stayed home when his department evaporated in 2008. We joked that our husbands were in the guild of overqualified snack providers. They did the museums, the playgrounds, the Costco runs. My girls adored Uncle Nate. My husband and Olivia shared playlists. We're all basically one big family, people said. If you say that enough, it starts to sound like permission. One Tuesday, I found a hotel shampoo in our van, lavender. Nobody in my house buys lavender. He didn't cheat. He built a business plan. The fight started over a thrift store dress. I pulled it from the dryer and a receipt slid out, a storage unit in South Lake Union. I thought, camping gear? Old books? He swore it was overflow from the garage and kissed my forehead, soft as a sigh. My stomach went cold. I told myself to trust the life we built. I baked lasagna, sprinkled basil like confetti, and tried to ignore the second reflection I could feel behind me in the kitchen window. A stranger standing inside my husband's silhouette. Then the school nurse called. Bia had a fever. I left a meeting with 3 vice presidents and a kombucha tap, drove across town, and found my husband already there, hair wet, shirt crisp. Shower at home? I asked. He said he had gone to the gym. The gym near the storage unit, it turned out. He smelled like hotel soap again. That night, he was tender, chatty, oddly buoyant. On the couch, our dog snored. A rainstorm hit the windows like rice. He leaned into my shoulder and asked if I had ever wondered what people mean when they whisper about open-minded marriages. He laughed like a test balloon. I said, "You had a crush in college on experimental ideas." It was cute then. His eyes flashed. He kissed me. We were not dead. But the next day, Nate's name popped up with a question mark. Why would Nate be texting me at 11 with, "Is he coming over or you?" My hands shook. I texted back, "Wrong person." A minute later, crap, meant Olivia. A minute after that, "Ignore me." I put my phone down like it was hot metal. My pulse was so loud, I did not hear the kettle screaming until the dog barked. It is terrifying, the moment when your life blurs, and the only way to see is to stand very, very still. What's worse, betrayal from family or from a friend? Here's the spoonful of poison. It did not start as prostitution. It started as cheating. My husband and Olivia, the confidences at drop-off, the jokes too inside. One morning, he said he was taking Bia to pottery class. Bia does not take pottery. I drove to the studio anyway and watched the door. They were not there. I sat in my car, hand on the horn, trying to be the kind of woman who believed in her life. I went home and opened the storage unit's account. Digital key, a calendar of deliveries. Names like KL, 3 p.m., Sweet Comped. He had a second phone in a shoebox behind the lawn fertilizer. Here is the worst part to admit. I did not confront him. Not right away. I wrote dates, I screenshot texts, I listened to my girls argue about which cereal made the best crunch song, and whispered, we are okay, into their hair. 2 weeks later, he left the second phone in his jacket. I watched him in the kitchen slicing apples paper thin, humming. He kissed my cheek and said, you okay? I said yes, because I had not decided whether I wanted the truth to be true. The show ended the day I found a wire hanger in the van with a garment bag attached. Inside, a suit I had never seen, navy with a thin pinstripe, tailored. Tucked in the pocket, a crisp envelope of cash bound with a paper band. Every dollar smelled like someone else's cologne. My entire body turned to frost. I handed him the garment bag at the doorway and said, who is paying you to look this good? He closed his eyes. It is strange to watch someone choose which person they will be in your life going forward. He picked honest liar and said, carefully, that he had been meeting people, that it started as a joke, that Nate knew because Nate had a friend who wanted company for a conference and paid in cash, that Olivia arranged the first meet to get it out of their system, that over time it became streamlined. He said the word like a magic trick. Is one-time cheating different from a double life? Do you want to know how a lifestyle gets built without a blueprint? It starts with errands. He added a gray sport coat to school pickup. He traded the minivan for a used sedan, easier to park downtown. There was a brushed steel key to a storage unit where he kept aftershaves, shoes and boxes, a portable steamer, a little notebook of clients like a black recipe book. He bought a camera for eBay sales and used it to take photos in hotel mirrors. He padded it with a story I could love. I am helping pay for camps. I am reselling sneakers. I am flipping furniture. Our budget did get lighter. I just assumed I had become good at spreadsheets. He never brought the money home, at least not that I could trace. He bought the business its own wardrobe and paid for rooms at hotels with free cucumber water. He bought noise-canceling headphones and called them a writing expense. He had rules: no meetings after school hours, always present for bedtime. He kept them, mostly. Nights, we watched a cooking show where chefs made ice cream out of black garlic. He held my feet under the blanket. Sometimes, he cried into my shoulder about feeling like a failed provider, and I told him, you are the tent, not the weather. He kissed my wrist like it was holy. Scarcity presses people into shapes that make sense only to them. He told himself he was making it fair. He told himself it was harmless. He told himself he was good at being two people because he was motivated by survival, not lust. He told himself that the clients were lonely professionals who preferred discretion. He told himself I would never know. He told himself that Olivia had moved on, and it was just business now. He told himself a lot of glowing lies. Here is the ugly middle point. He was assaulted by one of his clients. I learned about his entire secret life within 1 hour because a hospital called me to sign consent forms when he could not speak. Someone had beaten him. Someone had raped him. The police asked questions in low voices and then left me with a plastic bag holding bloody shoes and a hotel receipt. He had not cheated. He had franchised it. The hospital hallway smelled like saline and lemon. I watched condensation crawl down a vending machine bottle while he slept under painkillers. His jaw was wired, his eye was purpling. A nurse handed me a bag of his clothes. Crisp shirt, shoes polished like little boats. I recognized nothing. I recognized everything. Olivia called me breathless. She had already texted Nate, who had already texted me earlier. Funny how the truth travels in circles when it is trying to outrun shame. She showed up with a paper cup of coffee she did not drink and said, "I am so sorry. I had no idea it was still going on." Her hand shook. A diamond on her finger caught the fluorescent light and threw it across the wall like a tiny siren. I said, "Who is they?" Her mouth opened and did not close for a full 10 seconds. She whispered that years ago, when my husband and Nate were both out of work, she and my husband had crossed a line once and then managed it. Nate found out and brokered rules. They all swore it would stop. Then a friend of a friend offered money for no strings company. Everything else, she said, was logistics. I could smell French fries from the cafeteria downstairs. I pictured my daughter's lunchboxes, apple slices browning at the edges, stickers peeling off thermoses. I imagined how much of me would need to be cut away for the remaining part to be safe to keep. When my husband woke up, his eyes flooded. He wrote on a notepad that he had ignored a regular because of a scheduling mix-up. The client sent the room number anyway. The next week, my husband showed, and the man who paid for affection tried to buy obedience and then used fists when the world did not match his expectation. I squeezed the pen from my husband's hand and said, clear and cold, "You do not get to hide behind your own bruise." He cried until the nurse closed the curtain. Could you ever trust them again after this? I brought him home because Jessa asked me to. She brushed his hair back from his stitches like he was a child. Bia brought him a bowl of ice cream and cried when he could not eat it. The dog slept at his feet, whimpering at every movement. For 2 weeks, I moved around the house like a quiet storm, shouldering towels out of the dryer, walking past the linen closet where his second phone lay dead in the dark. Every time he typed on his notepad, "I am sorry," I read, "I am sorry I got caught." Every time he wrote, "I love you," I heard, "I love the version of you that does not ask questions." On week 3, he started talking. He said it had never touched our real life. He said we were his anchor. He said he was ashamed. He said that Olivia was done, that it had been over for years, that I was bringing up old cuts. He said Nate had looked out for him. I called Nate. He answered fast and, like a coward, told me only half of it. He omitted Olivia. I called Olivia and gave her the rest. I do not enjoy burning bridges, but sometimes you discover you are camping on someone else's lawn. That afternoon, I packed a suitcase for him and put it by the door. Jessa sobbed on the stairs. Bia stared at her shoelaces. He begged to stay for the girls. I said, "You should have thought of them before you priced yourself by the hour." Was I wrong to react this way? He moved into a furnished apartment near the Bellevue Mall. I filed for divorce. When he texted me paragraphs, I texted back logistics, pickup times, JPEGs of school flyers. Olivia's husband, Nate, left the next month. He told me in a quiet booth at a diner that still had a jukebox. His coffee tasted like burnt walnut. His hands shook like a metronome. He said he had known pieces, not the whole thing. He said, "I kept thinking if I controlled the rules, I could control the damage." He looked so tired. I recognized myself in his wish to manage a wildfire with a bucket. Grief is not linear. It is a broken escalator going in 2 directions at once. I would be eating a sandwich that tasted like cardboard, and then suddenly I would be 12, watching my parents pretend not to be angry. I would drive past the storage facility and feel like retching at the sight of a red roll-up door. I scrubbed the bathtub and cried into the Comet foam. I went to therapy on Thursdays and then sat in my car outside the grocery store for 20 minutes, practicing how to smile before keeping a promise to bring home rotisserie chicken. At night, I rolled over and touched the cold dip in the mattress where he used to be. Every morning, I woke up and made 2 small ponytails and told the mirror, "We are not broken. We are bent. The girls still saw him. They still see him. I set boundaries like safety tape around a sinkhole. I never asked what hotel smelled like his collar. I asked what movie they watched. People online say things like, if my mother did that, I would cut her off. But life is not a simple geometry problem. The girls have a father they love and a mother who will not let her wounds become their syllabus. I hold the line where it matters. Doctor's appointments, honest conversations about consent, therapy for the whole family. The rest is mine to carry. Some days it feels like carrying a piano up a fire escape. Nate started dating someone who liked folk music and wore vintage boots. Olivia dyed her hair darker and got a new job in another state. My husband slowly rebuilt a life, not the same one. He deleted the storage unit. He stopped wearing suits. He cooks on Sundays with the girls, and he pays for their summer camps without disappearing. When I see him at school events, he looks like a man who survived his own bad choices and is learning how to hold the weight of that survival without putting it back on me. Could you ever trust them again after this? Is not the right question, I have learned. The right question is, how do you trust yourself after you did not see what you did not want to see? There was a night 6 months after the divorce when Olivia's name lit up my phone at 11:23 p.m. I was eating cereal over the sink, lungs tight with that late-night kind of fear that hums like a streetlight. I let it go to voicemail, then I listened. She was crying, asking for closure. She said, I think I loved him for how small he made me feel, because then when he praised me, it felt like a rescue. That is not love. That is gravity pretending to be a promise. I met her once at a coffee shop with wobbly tables. She apologized between sips of lukewarm chai. She looked older. She asked if we could be friends again, someday. I said someday is a good word for weather and dreams, not for boundaries. I paid for both of our drinks and left her with the check of her own choices. On the first anniversary of the divorce, I walked to the storage facility alone. I rented a small unit for 1 hour. I set a folding chair inside and sat there with a pen and a legal pad. On it, I wrote every name I have ever been called: wife, mother, provider, fool, forgiver, and every name I want now: architect, protector, soft place, sharp edge. When the hour ended, I left the legal pad there, a shrine to the parts of me I carried out of a place that should never have held anything sacred. Do you think friendship can survive something like this? I asked my sister over the phone. She said no, not this. I believed her and felt something unclench in my chest. That night, I told my daughters a story about a woman who used to think love meant keeping watch over a locked door, when really, love is windows you can open yourself. Bia said, like airing out a room. Jessa said, like the car when it gets too hot. Exactly. Mini resolution? We found our rhythm. Not a happy ending, a true continuation. Weekends are farmers markets, pancakes, a dog that sheds like it is his job. I kept the house and painted the kitchen yellow. I bought a pair of red rain boots that make puddles feel like permission. The girls learned how to save money, pick friends who respect them, and put their own oxygen masks on first. I learned that I can love the old version of someone and still build a life that leaves him at the edge of the frame. Then came the final claw, because life loves a late twist. 2 years after the divorce, the police called. They had arrested the man who assaulted my ex-husband on another charge. They wanted statements. My ex asked if I would come with him. I said I could not be his witness and his ex-wife in the same room. He nodded. Later, he texted, "Thank you for taking care of me when I did not deserve it." I stared at the words until they blurred, and then I turned off my phone, poured myself mint tea, and sat on the back steps, listening to the rain cut soft lines in the dirt. I do not need revenge. I need peace, and I am building it, brick by brick. So tell me, internet friends, would you tell others about the betrayal or let it die with the marriage? Or better yet, would you ever invite a betrayer back into your life? As for me, I choose windows. And that's when I realized He loved the mask more than my face.